Hi, my name is Benga and I want to talk about plants. On this channel, my plan is to cover each of the plants that I own, giving them a moment in the spotlight, and after that, I don't really have a plan, but if it sounds interesting, please subscribe and keep watching. Alright, so today I want to talk about my banana plant. I want to cover my journey with this individual plant, how I care for it, the particular features that I like about the plant, as well as any problems I've had or any mistakes I have made. First of all, let's give a bit of a background. So this plant is called, the full botanical name for it is the Musa Acuminata Zebrina, also known as the Dwarf Cavendish. This particular version is also sometimes referred to as the blood banana, and that's because of the leaves, if you see up the top, have that kind of burgundy splash markings on it, which the kind of original classic green version does not have. So the zebrina on the end of the botanical name refers to that. This plant is roughly, you can kind of see compared to how tall I am, it's roughly 50 centimeters tall, maybe 60, particularly with the leaves, they're quite slanted. And I just have it in the pot that it came in, which was a brown wicker pot that has the plastic lining so the water doesn't drip through. I got this plant roughly 5 or 6 months ago when I was just shopping in the supermarket in Tesco. I saw it, and for whatever reason in my head, I thought that I was never going to see it again. I've been researching it before for other purposes, and so I recognized it, but when I was researching it, I didn't conceptualize that I would come across it in real life. So for whatever reason in my brain, it kind of told me that I was never going to see it again, so I had to buy it right now. So I ended up buying it, even though I was not planning on buying any new plants at the time. Didn't have space for it, but I bought it anyway, and now I've had it for about 6 months. In that time, it's grown, I think, 4 or 5-ish new leaves, and there's one on the way, which you can see here. No, here. It's grown from about this tall in that time, but it's grown a lot faster during the last few summer months. During the winter, it was relatively slow compared to now. Okay, let's talk about how I look after this plant. So I keep it in my bathroom on the windowsill of an east-facing window, and so it gets roughly about 6-ish hours of direct or indirect light right at the moment in the summer in the UK. During the winter, that drops down to about maybe four-ish hours, but it's obviously cloudy and stuff in the UK, so it's kind of just ambient light, it's not direct sunlight. I water it roughly at the moment about twice a week, but that's gone up a lot from the winter where it was as low as twice a week. As I'm sure you've heard, and I will also join the chorus of people saying that, I don't really follow a schedule of watering a plant on a strict cycle of number of days or weeks. It's much better and much more likely for the plant to survive if you actually learn to see the signs of when you need to water it, and also then water based on the intuition that you've developed from having the plant for a while. It's a game of trial and error, and some of the error is evident on the plant now with the yellow leaves, but I will talk about that later on. But essentially with this plant, you want to keep the soil moist. It can dry, but if it gets completely dry, then you should water it. Don't let it sit and be dry for an extended period of time, otherwise you may run into trouble. But equally, as I'll reiterate I'll probably reiterate for all of my plants, don't keep the soil soggy or moist continuously without letting it dry at all, otherwise you'll end up with root rot. Humidity. I keep it in my bathroom, like I said, and sometimes, usually, I don't know, like twice or 3 times a week, after I've had a shower, I will leave the window and the door both closed to trap the humidity in the room and let that kind of sit and the plant to kind of enjoy that environment for a few hours. I don't live by myself, so it's not completely up to me. So if someone goes into the bathroom and I don't know, then I'll lose the humidity. So it's not an exact science of, you know, I have it in a humid environment for X number of hours per day. I don't have a humidifier, So I don't control it too strictly, but I just do that to kind of give it an extra boost or a chance of survival or thriving. And I've noticed that when I do that, I do notice that the leaves do come out faster versus when I wasn't doing that, it was growing quite slowly. But that wasn't a scientific experiment, so don't necessarily take my word for it by itself. I'm just referring to what my experience has been with this plant. Like I said, I've not done anything to this plant since I bought it. I bought it about 6 months ago. I have not repotted it, so the soil is exactly the same soil it came in. I have no idea about the composition of that soil. It was from a supermarket, so assume it's relatively cheap, regular soil, nothing special in it. I've not changed the soil, I've not fertilized it, so it's pretty much just growing, naturally. But I do know that I need to repot it, and I will show you a clip now of what the roots look like. So it's evident that I need to repot it, but it's one of those things where I'm putting it off because I just can't be bothered right now. When I have a group of plants to repot, I will do that in one big session rather than repotting like immediately as soon as I see roots. So I'll get to it, don't worry. Speaking of the roots, let's talk about them for a second. They are about 1/2 centimeter in thickness, and they're quite sturdy, so they're the kind of ones where if you were to bend it, it would snap rather than just fold. So they're fairly sturdy, and that is so they can grip well into the soil. You obviously can't tell, but if you were to see one of these in real life, you'll realize that it is quite well gripped in the soil. I have other plants which are kind of wobbly and stuff. This plant, the wind, nothing is gonna shake it. If I were to show you what it looked like with the wind blowing past, you'll notice that the leaves flap, but the entire plant doesn't lean over. And that I would contribute that to the thickness of the roots and the way that they grow. They are, as you can see they are white, maybe slightly off-white. So that's a good frame of reference to know if your roots are healthy. If they start to go brown and mushy, then you know that you have an issue with the root rot. So I'm also gonna bring it closer to the camera so you can see. So if you look carefully, here. If you look, I'm trying quite hard to balance this. If you look carefully, you'll notice there isn't actually a stem with branches coming off it. It's actually the main body or section of the plant is made up of leaves. So each leaf forms part of the main section of the plant. Now, as you can see, this is the newest leaf, and it comes out of the middle of the leaf that comes before it. So this leaf was the newest one, and now this one is coming out of the center of that leaf. And so you can see how it creates that pattern. It is very sturdy, by the way. Like, I'm squeezing it now. I'm properly squeezing it, and it's not even giving. Like, it's sturdy. Did I want to say anything else? I don't think so. But whilst I've got it close to the camera, I should probably show you or point out the fact there are actually multiple plants growing in this pot. So when I bought it, I had this main plant, and then this also was growing, this baby, which was maybe, I think, 3 leaves, but it was about this tall. So it's growing quite a lot, and now you can see it's got 4 leaves, and there's another one on the way. But also there is a newest plant even, growing here. And that has 3 leaves, and there's a 4th one in the center. So they grow like that in sort of clusters. So sorry, I'm just adjusting this. I don't remember how it was, it's fine. If you purchase one, it's quite likely you're going to end up with multiple plants, just because of the way that they reproduce, or in this case, well, it's propagation, but it's propagation that you don't have to do yourself. So arguably, is it propagation? I don't know. I don't know the full definition of propagation. So in fact, I'm going to look it up and put it on the screen now. Wow, look at that knowledge. I'm learning, you're learning. It's great. That's what we do on this channel. We learn. Okay, so let's talk about the growth what I'm going to refer to as the growth behavior of this plant. So it doesn't grow towards the light, or it doesn't lean in any particular direction in order to like maximize photosynthesis like some other plants do. Some plants will literally, all of the leaves will move to face the sun, or the whole plant will start to lean in one direction. This plant doesn't do that. I do rotate it, but usually it's not because of the fact that the plant is leaning, it's just because of the way the plant grows. The new leaves come out in kind of random directions, and so because of where it is positioned in my bathroom, I might rotate it so that the new leaf doesn't get caught on the window frame. Since we're talking about the location of the plant, it's currently not ideal. So when I bought it, like I mentioned, it was about this high and it's grown a lot, but also each new leaf is bigger than the last leaf. So whilst before the width of the leaves, or the leaf span, is that the term that people use, maybe? Leaf span, or the width of the plant, was maybe about 3/4 of what it is now. So it was a bit of a squeeze, but not too bad. As long as I rotated the plant in a certain angle, it was fine. But now, with the last 4 leaves being bigger than, each one being bigger than the previous one, I'm kind of in a situation where the leaves are squashed against the windowsill, which is not ideal. As you can see here, it's not ideal, but I don't really have a choice. I don't have anywhere else that I can give it the right conditions with the humidity and a good amount of light. If I could, I would leave it in the room I'm in right now. Issue being, this room is not temperature controlled in any way, and it gets very hot if it's a hot day outside, and during the winter it's very, very cold. So I can't leave it here, but if I could, I would, because there's enough space for the leaves to spread out and take up as much space as they want. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And so for now, I have it in my bathroom, and I'm just kind of trying to angle it so that the leaves aren't super squashed, but it's not ideal. So, like I mentioned, when I first got the plant, it was growing slower, and now it's growing faster because it's its growing season, it's the summer. But when I first bought it, I was getting a new leaf roughly every month and a half. But now I'm consistently getting a new leaf every 3 weeks. And also now, once the new leaf has completely unfurled, the next leaf is already coming out. Whereas before, you would have a bit of a break where the new leaf is unfurled, then maybe a week, and then the new leaf starts to come through. So I can really see the difference in its growth behavior since from winter to summer, which is quite interesting to observe. Excuse me, sorry, I have to interrupt very quickly. This would have been the perfect moment to mention that I have documented all the stages of a new leaf on a banana plant on my Instagram, so I'm going to insert some clips of that now. Whoa! Wow! Whoa! Look at that leaf. If you want to see more content like this, follow me on Instagram. Also before, when you had a new leaf, the old leaf would start to yellow and then eventually die off. But right now, we're seeing that, I am seeing that when there's a new leaf coming out, the old leaf not only starts to yellow, but it can yellow completely and brown off before that top leaf even comes out. So it's just something I've noticed. It might not be a big deal, but something I'd mention. Let's talk about the problems I've had with this plant. So on the topic of the leaves and the browning of the leaves, about a month ago, I came back after being away, and 4 leaves were going yellow at the same time. I was stressed because that's not happened with this plant before, and I only went away for a week, and I watered it before I left, so I was wondering what I did wrong. Why do you hate me? But I think I figured out what happened now. So normally, like I mentioned, the lowest leaf is the one that goes yellow first, and it will go yellow all the way, and then it will brown and then fall off, or I'll pull it off. But this case, it was 4 different leaves, and they were not the 4 bottom leaves. It was, I think, the bottom 3 and then 1 that was a bit above. So again, I was quite worried. I've since worked out that I think it was because I was letting it dry out too much. So like I mentioned before, you should keep this plant pretty moist. It can be dry, but once it is dry, you need to water it pretty immediately. So to be on the safe side, I don't let it get completely dry. Once I notice it's kind of getting there, I will just water it again. So if you want to avoid the yellow crispiness that we've got going on here, water it when it's approaching dryness, but not once it's completely dry, because you'll end up with this. Yellow leaves aren't a big deal, it's just a part of the process. But if you are a person who really is into plants for aesthetic purposes and you want your leaves to be lush and green and then advice. You don't have to take it, but I've given it to you. Like I mentioned, I will sometimes pull the leaves off. I usually only do that once the plant has gone completely, or the leaf has gone completely yellow, because if it's green, it's still got chlorophyll, it's still photosynthesizing, so it's still functional. I don't run a plant shop, it's not the display room or anything, so if it's yellow leaf, that's okay. But usually, like I said, once it's completely yellow, I will pull it off, just because otherwise it's just there doing nothing. And I can't lie, it's quite satisfying pulling a leaf off, because the way I demonstrated before, each leaf forms part of the stem. So when you pull a leaf, it actually peels all the way down. So it's, in a sense, it's kind of like peeling banana skin. That wasn't planned, but you saw I did that. Love that. Okay, other problems I've had, well, not problems I've had, actually mistakes that I've made with this plant. Okay, so honesty hour. This is a safe space, it's just you and me. One time, I was trying to be a good plant parent, and you know how you're supposed to wipe down your leaf. You know how you're supposed to wipe down your leaves and get rid of any dust, because that blocks the plant from photosynthesizing as effectively, and it just looks nice. Just get general housekeeping stuff. So I was going to do that, but I was like, wait, big brain moment. Wouldn't it be faster if I hoovered the leaves? So anyway, I tried to hoover the leaves, and that is what caused this tear here. I hoovered up a section of the leaf. Yeah, I hear you in the background. Boo, boo, hiss. This is a terrible plant parent. Listen, I tried. And I've learned my lesson. I won't do that again. So don't be like me. There's other cosmetic damage done here as well, where this leaf is torn. Can you see that? That was actually when I was trying to wipe the leaf down like I was supposed to. After I was traumatized from vacuuming a chunk of the leaf, I was just trying to wipe it down, and I accidentally tore a leaf. But it is what it is. It's okay. It's not dead. But if you've ever seen a banana plant in the wild, you'll see that they all have splits in their leaves, and it's perfectly normal. It's just the leaves are quite thin. If you've never touched one or seen one in real life, they are quite thin. They're probably thinner than like A4 paper, somewhere between, okay, great example, a Tesco or supermarket shopping bag that you get now. The ones that back in the day were like 10p when the cheaper ones were like 5p. Those bags, that is probably about how thin the leaves are. So it's quite easy for you to accidentally rip it if you're not being like really, really cautious. But if you have never seen them, I will show some pictures here. So I took these pictures when I was in Lagos about a month ago, and I noticed the banana trees growing around, and I thought that was just like, I noticed them a lot more because since I've been into plants, you start to notice plants more. And I've been to Nigeria, I don't know how many times, and seen banana trees, but not thought anything of it. But now that I own one myself, and I went there and I saw them, I just paid a lot more attention. But you'll see that they all have splits in the leaves. I've seen ones that are way worse than this, where the leaves are battered, bruised, tattered, ripped up, and it doesn't affect the growth of the plant because, of course, the main focus for most people for the plant is that they produce a fruit that we eat. And that doesn't affect the growth of the fruit or the production of the fruit. The fruit will still come out regardless of if the leaf is ripped. So don't worry, don't stress. Speaking of Nigeria, if you don't know or you didn't know, banana leaves are used in Nigerian cooking. There's a dish called moi moi that you make with beans, and you grind the beans up into kind of a paste, and you pour that into, I guess, a container that you make out of the banana leaf. You can fold it in a certain way to make a container, pour the mixture in, close it, and you put that in a pot with other containers, steam it, and there you go, you get a delicious dish. Personally, I don't eat moi moi with all of those added things in them. People be eating with egg, with fish, all of those added extras. I like my moi moi plain. I like it to be spicy, but plain. That's just me. So, I mean, comment down below. How do you like your moi moi? Oh yes, final point I wanted to talk about was pests. I've not had any major issues with pests with this plant. Like I said, it's in my bathroom, and sometimes I have the window open. And the only thing I've noticed is one time I noticed I don't know if it was a beetle or a fly or what, but a black insect that was about, I don't know, 2 centimeters long in that pot. I noticed it one day and then it was gone, so I don't think it was anything to worry about. And then I've also noticed, okay, also if you are not an insect person, or if insects make you nervous or uncomfortable, don't look right now, because I'm going to show you the pictures on the screen. I will put a timestamp on the screen now that you can skip to if you want to see pictures of insects. Okay, so there's this particular insect that I noticed hanging around my plant. It's roughly about 2 or 3 centimeters big, roughly the size of a bee, but it's shiny and it's yellow or kind of orange and blue. Never seen this insect before in my life, but I just kept noticing it, like maybe over a period of a week or two, hanging around this plant. Like I said, I keep the window open sometimes, and I sometimes close the window and the door to keep the humidity in. But every time I found it, it was right next to this plant, either chilling like on the pot, or it was trapped between, or not trapped because it found its way there, no one told it to go there, between the leaf and the window, in a little, almost like a humidity chamber. It's like it was a sauna. It was a sauna for the insect, and it liked to hang out there. I don't know. It didn't seem dangerous or harmful, but I'm just curious if anyone else has had this or knows what this is. Let me know. I'm just curious. But that's all I have to say about the problems / issues / pests segment of this. Okay, let's talk about my future ambitions, dreams, and hopes for this particular plant. In the near future, I will repot it, because I already heard you screaming and shouting, repot the plant, delete the roots coming out the bottom, repot it. Yeah, I'll do it. When I get to it, I will do it. Probably in the next couple of months, I'll repot this when I do a bunch of other plants. Then after that, I don't have any huge plans, but probably in the distant future, I will separate the baby plant from the pot, because it will probably get so big that it's kind of getting in the way and maybe getting a bit annoying. And then I'll have multiple and I'll give it to a friend, I'm not sure, but I'll probably separate them. But apart from that, I don't have any big dreams for this particular plant. I don't know if there are any other methods of propagation other than just allowing it to just reproduce itself. But if there are, maybe I will try one of those. But I can't lie, I'm quite attached to this plant. I have actually seen it in Tesco since, and I didn't feel dumb, but I was like, oh, okay, the rush was not that necessary, because they be having them. So, but nonetheless, I'm quite attached to this one. I like it. So yeah, don't have any huge plans, but that's all I have to say. Okay, before I go, I want to leave you with a song that's been on my mind or in my head the whole time I was filming, and all today, was How Many Years by Yebba. For whatever reason, it lodged in my head. I really enjoyed the album Dawn, and I've been listening to Yebba for about, I don't know, a year or two prior. I think I found her from Don't Leave Me Lonely on Mark Ronson's album, which I don't remember the name of, but it was the one with that Miley Cyrus song that was everywhere. Nothing Breaks Like a Heart, that song. That same album. It's a good album, definitely listen to it, love Mark Ronson, but that's how I find Yebba. Yebba, there's just a certain je ne sais quoi, that comes with her voice. She has range, she has affect, she has tone, she has bass, she has gravitas when she sings. So if you've never heard of her, I recommend How Many Years. And if you want to see an amazing live performance, I would watch the performance that she did of Evergreen for Apple Music, which, what she did to that song in that performance, it was special. She took us to church. She was in church in the video, and I was also in church, even though I was in my bedroom. I probably listened to that or rewatched that video, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 times a week. It just, it gives me endorphins. Delicious. That is all I have to say about this plant. I can't believe I had this much to say about one plant, but you realize once you start speaking that there's actually a lot to talk about. So I hope you found it interesting or useful or informative or entertaining. If you want to see more, then subscribe. I will likely go through all of the plants that I own right now in individual videos and probably other content about other topics. I've not really worked out the exact plan for this channel yet, but if you want to know more, then subscribe. Do I have anything else to say? I don't think so. So thank you for watching. Have a good day. Yeah.